Hello students, the next module that we have is module 3 where we discuss about your deadlocks. Probably in the previous module when we had discussed about your process synchronization, we had a small glimpse of what is a deadlock, what could be a deadlock in the system. So what do we see in this chapter? We see how crucial a deadlock could be, how could we avoid a deadlock, how could we prevent a deadlock, what are the measures taken to do the same, what are the conditions on which a deadlock occur, what are the algorithms that are there for us to prevent, avoid, detect or recover from a deadlock. We shall address to these things in the coming slides. The first thing, let me give a real world example of what a deadlock could be. You can see the bridge crossing example here. Let us consider the bridge to be the resource and we can see the vehicle that is moving. Let us consider that to be as a process. Now you can see that there are two vehicles standing facing each other. If there happens to be a section of the bridge where it is one-sided. Now, what happens in this scenario? Either one of this vehicle have to move back and make way for the other one. If both the vehicles stand adamant that they don't move back, so eventually that ends up with a deadlock. Here you can observe it is not only the deadlock is not only issue for that vehicle but also for the vehicles that is coming behind. So one of it has to move back, one of it has to make way for the other. If both of it stands like this, it ends up in a deadlock situation. So here, even if one of it is going to move back, it would also be moving the other vehicles also back. What am I trying to depict here is, if a process is involved in the deadlock, the process is not just affecting itself, it could be affecting the other processes also. If there is a similar scenario in a system, probably we will have to suspend all the processes that was involved in the deadlock, or any other processes also running shall be suspended, stopped or have to restart from the beginning. Now let us see what happens in a system. Now what is a deadlock problem? A deadlock problem is said as a set of blocked processes, each holding for a resource and waiting to acquire another resource held by another process. Now let me clarify you about what does the blocked processes mean. Now the process could be blocked or non-blocking. There many a times when we are writing a code or many a times when there are APIs, you have an option for blocked and blocking and non-blocking processes. Now what is this blocking and non-blocking? Now if there is a process P1 requesting for a resource, in case of non-blocking, if a process P1 requests for a resource and that resource is not available, the process P1 shall continue its execution and after some time it shall try back for that resource availability. But in case of blocking, if a process requests for a resource and if that resource is not available, the process shall be blocked or it shall be waiting until that resource is available. I repeat, in blocking process, if a process is requesting for a resource and if that resource is not available, the process shall be blocked or the process shall be waiting until the resource is available. So in that case, in case of a blocked process, it is holding one resource and it is continuously waiting to acquire another resource that is held by another process. It will end up in a deadlock state. Now let us take an example for the same. We say that in a system there are two processes, say P1 and P2, and there are two tape drives. Fine. Now both the process, that is process P1 and process P2, to complete its execution need two tape drives. Fine. Now what is happening here? Process P1 is holding tape drive A and is waiting for tape drive B. Similarly, process 2 is holding tape drive B and waiting for tape drive A. Now process 1 is waiting for a resource that is held by P2 and P2 is waiting for a resource that is held by P1. Both of it cannot be completing the execution and both the process is continuously waiting for the other one to release. Both of it is continuously waiting to complete the execution. So none of it is going to release. So this is what is your deadlock state or a deadlock condition. The next thing that we have is about your system model. Now, a system consists of finite number of resources which must be shared or used by the processes on the system. We never say that any resources, let it be a memory or let it be the IO devices, it's not infinite. There is a limited set of resources that is available. These resources shall be distributed among the processes that are running or using. Now, what a process must do to utilize this resource? The first thing, it has to request for the resource if the resource is available or not. If the resource is available, it shall be immediately granted. If the resource is not available, probably it has to wait until the resource is available. Next, if the resource is available and if it is granted, it uses the resource, and after it has completed using the resource, it releases the resources. If I have to tell, if there is a document to be printed on the printer, I request for the printer. If the printer is available, the printer is granted to me or to the process, and then the process prints the document, and after it is done with the printing job, it releases the printer so that it could be used by another process. So the resource type and the instance, what do you mean by the resource type and the instance of that resource? Now the system may have many number of resource types. Now the type I mean IO devices. IO is a type of resources. Memory is a type of resources. If I say hard disk is a resource type, I may have 4 hard disks in the system, that becomes my instance. Now resource type Ri, I call R1 to be the hard disk type. Wi is how many hard disks are there. If I have 4 hard disks, it would be W1, W2, W3, W4 of 4 different hard disks. Now the same if I have to say for a printer. Printer is a resource type. If I have 4 different printers, then that would become the instance of that resource type. Again, I shall emphasize more on this once we see to the coming topics of your resource allocation graph. The next thing that we see is what are the necessary conditions that should be held so that a deadlock occurs. There are 4 necessary conditions that leads to a deadlock: mutual exclusion, hold and wait, no preemption, and circular wait. What is mutual exclusion? When one process at a time can use the resource, or there could be a resource that are non-shareable. Mutual exclusion indicates that only one process at a time can be using the resource. Hold and wait, we have already seen the example earlier. A process is holding one resource and it is waiting for another resource that is held by another process. And the other condition we have is no preemption. No preemption is a condition where a resource cannot be taken away from a process until the process voluntarily releases the resource. A process should voluntarily release the resource that it is held. We cannot be preempting the resources from the process. The last one we have is a circular wait, where a set of processes are waiting for each other in a circular form. That is, if I say there are a set of process P0 to Pn, P0 is waiting for a resource held by P1, P1 is waiting for a resource held by P2, P2 is waiting for a resource held by P3, so on and so forth, and P1 is waiting for a resource that is held back by P0. So this is what we say is a circular wait. These conditions, if held simultaneously, there is a sure occurrence of deadlock. The next thing that we see is how do we represent this deadlock. The deadlock situation in the system can be represented by your resource allocation graph. We see what is a resource allocation graph. What are the representations in your resource allocation graph, and how do we actually represent the system scenario of a deadlock. Now we have a set of vertices V and a set of edges E. V can be, the vertex can be a process or a resource. It could be a set of processes that is running on the system P1 to Pn. R could be a set of resource type in the system. And it is a directed graph that we are describing here. So there are two types of edges that we have. One is a request edge and the other one is an assignment edge. Request edge is something like this. If P1 is requesting for a resource Rj, it has a request edge that is going from P1 to Rj. Assignment edge is where the process is already held that resource, where that particular resource is already assigned to that process. So if Rj is already assigned to a process Pi, then this is the representation that we have. Okay students, now let us see how are the representation of your process, resource, request edge, assignment edge in the graph. So these are the representations that we use. A process is represented by a circle. A resource is represented by a square. You can see these tiny squares or tiny boxes inside. That represents the number of instances of that resource. Now, for example, I have already discussed about what is a resource type and instance. So if I say the resource type is printer, and if there are 4 printers, I will be representing it with 4 more tiny boxes or dots inside. Fine. If there are 2, you can represent only 2. If there are 3, you can represent only 3. The next thing, we have a request edge. How is a request edge represented? For example, if PI is requesting for a resource of RJ, so this is how the request edge is represented. And assignment edge, if PI is already holding a resource instance of RJ, then that particular instance is assigned to PI. So this is how a assignment edge is represented. You can have problems, not specifically problems. I can say there could be a scenario given and you can be asked to represent that in a resource allocation graph and also identify if there could be a deadlock or not, or if the system is in a deadlock state or not. So we are representing the scenario of the system and we are trying to detect if there is a deadlock or not. Now let us see how a resource allocation graph is written. Now this is the representation of your resource allocation graph. So let me first say how the statement would be framed. So we say that there are 3 processes, P1, P2 and P3, and there are 4 resources, R1, R2 and R3. R1 is having 1 instance of the resource type, R2 is having 2 instances of the resource type, R3 is having 1 instance of the resource type, R4 is having 3 instances of the resource type. Now, process P1 is holding 1 instance of the resource type R2 and is requesting for the resource R1. Whereas process P2 is holding a resource instance of R1 and also is holding a resource instance of R2 and is requesting the resource R3. Whereas process P3 is holding a resource instance of R3. So this is how your resource allocation graph is represented. We give a set of process, a set of resource along with its resource type. We also say which process is requesting for which resource and which process is holding which resource. So that would be represented in this fashion. Now, seeing to this graph, can we say that there is a deadlock or not? What in the graph makes us feel that there could be a deadlock? Now let us see. So whenever there is a cycle in the graph, we say that there is a possibility of deadlock. Again, We will also discuss where there is a graph with cycle but it is not a deadlock. We will show both of it to you. Now let me show you this graph where it is a deadlock. It has a cycle and it also has a deadlock. Now before that, let us see the assignment and the request edges. So in this graph there are 3 processes and there are 4 resources. What are the resource instances? Process R1 has 1 instance of the resource. Process R2 has 2 instances of the resource. Process R3 has 1 instance of the resource. Process R4 has 3 instances of the resource. Now, process P1 is holding 1 instance of R2 and is requesting for another resource of R1, whereas process P2 is holding 1 resource instance of R1 and 1 resource instance of R2 and is requesting for the resource R3, whereas process P3 is requesting for a resource instance R2 and is holding a resource instance R3. You can notice both the graphs. The previous graph, I can say it is deadlock free because there is no cycle. You can see here in the graph we do not find any cycle. The edges go from P1 to R1, R1 to R2, P1 to R1, R1 to P2, P2 it is not coming back to R2. Or if I have to take this side, R2 to P2, P2 to R3, R3 to P3, again there is no, if you can see here, now the P3 is back to R2 here. That is not the case in this graph. So we can see that this situation in the system is deadlock free. Whereas the same graph where the P3 is requesting for another instance of R2, you can see a cycle here. P2 to R3, R3 to P3, P3 to R2, R2 back to P2. You can notice a cycle here which leads to deadlock. So P2 is holding a resource and waiting for a resource R3 which is held by another process P3. P3 is again holding a resource and it is waiting for another resource held by P2 which ends up in a deadlock. Now let us see another resource allocation graph that has a cycle but that does not have a deadlock. Now look into this graph. Let me first define the graph. So in the graph there are 4 processes. Process P1, P2, P3, P4, and there are 2 resources each with 2 instances of the resource type. Process R1 is a resource type with 2 instances. Process R2 is a resource type with 2 instances. Now, process P1 is holding a resource instance of R2 and is requesting for a resource R1. Process P2 is holding a resource instance R1. Process P3 is holding a resource instance R1 and is requesting for R2. Whereas process P4 is holding a resource instance R2. Now, why do we say there is no deadlock? Now, for example, if I said we did not have this process P2 and P4, and also if we had a single instance of the resources, if I had a single instance of the resources, then definitely this is a deadlock situation. That is, if I just mask off, if I do not have P2, I don't have P4, I just have P1 and P3, and I have two resources R1 and R2 of single instance, then P1 is holding R2 and it is requesting for R1. R1 is held by P3 and it is requesting for R2. Definitely there is a cycle, P1 to R1, R1 to P3, P3 to R2 and R2 back to P1, and there is a cycle. There is also a deadlock because there is a single instance. Now let us see. Here there are two instances and there are two different processes that is holding. Why do I say there is a cycle, still there is no deadlock? Now process P1 is requesting for the resource R1, which is held by P3 and also by P2. Now if P2 completes its execution and releases the resource R1, P1 definitely can be using that resource R1. The same is the scenario with your P3. Now P3 is requesting for the resource R2, which is held by P1 and also by P4. If P4 completes its execution and releases the resource, it can be used by P3. It is no more a deadlock situation. The resource is held by another process which could complete and release, and that can be taken or that can be given to the other process. Now, even if there was no P2 and P4, because there are two instances of the resource, P1 could be using one instance of the resource and P3 can be using the other instance of the resource, and it can be executing, and the process can complete its execution without deadlock. So these are the representation of your graphs. Now let us see what are some of the conclusions that we can draw out of your resource allocation graph. So these are some of the conclusions. If a graph contains no cycle, definitely there is no deadlock. If a graph contains a cycle, if only one instance per resource type, then definitely there is a deadlock. This is the same, this statement is the example that I gave here. If resource R1 and R2 were of a single instance type, then definitely it could end up in a deadlock. If several resource instances are there, there is a possibility of deadlock, but it is not, we cannot tell that there is a deadlock. So you can see here there are multiple instances of the resource, but the resource is held by another process which can be used and released. So there is a less possibility of deadlock in this situation. Whereas you can see here it is a single instance of resource R3 that is held and it is being waited by process P2. So if there is no cycle, there is no deadlock. If there is a cycle, there can be a deadlock, there cannot be a deadlock. So now we have seen and known what is a deadlock, what are the steps the system follow, that is your request, use, release. How do we represent the deadlock in the system using your resource allocation graph, and in the resource allocation graph, when can there be a deadlock, when it cannot be a deadlock, also we have addressed too. Now let us see what are the methods of handling this deadlock. It says most of the operating system shall follow one of these methods to handle the deadlock. The first method is we make sure that the system never enters the deadlock state, either by preventing it or by avoiding it. How do we prevent? We have seen the 4 necessary conditions for a deadlock to occur. We try to prevent one of the condition by which we are also preventing the deadlock. The second thing we talk about avoiding a deadlock, we try to collect the information about the process, that what are the resources the process require, is all the resource available, can it be allocated, can it be allowed to execution. By this information prior, we try to avoid the deadlock. So the first case is we never allow the system to enter into the deadlock state by prevention or avoiding a deadlock to occur. The second one talks about the detection and recovery, that is the deadlock has already occurred in the system. You detect that deadlock and you recover from the deadlock. The third one where it tells us we ignore the problem or we ignore that the deadlock has occurred. There are some scenarios you would have also noticed when the system suddenly restarts. So that is one of the methods where it is just restarting the whole thing fresh. So sometimes it is going to ignore the deadlock. If the deadlock is getting the system to a standstill position, it restarts the system. So these are the 3 methods of handling the deadlock. One is we prevent and avoid before it happens. Second, it has happened, we detect and recover it. Third is we ignore the problem, deadlock has occurred in the system. Now we will see one by one of it. How do we prevent it? How do we avoid it? What are the algorithms available? How do we detect it? How do we recover it? We will address to each one of it in detail.